so you grew up in Arizona?
Yeah.
What was it that first inspired the desire to perform?
Well, I was 4 years old when I did my first show, and I went to this theater called Desert Stages Theater, and it was a theater in the round. And what I loved so much about it is that you could walk across the stage at intermission, and so I called it the Play Place Theater because I thought it was like a playground. And I was like, Mom, when can we see another show at the Play Place Theater? And she looked it up, and there were auditions for The Wizard of Oz. And so instead of us seeing a show, I did a show, and I never stopped. And I never learned how to ride a bike because I was too busy performing. And yeah, so I grew up in musical theater my whole life, and you know, I would love to be on Broadway someday. That's the big goal. And then in high school I got interested in film. You know, screen acting and live performance are very different. You know, there's the small aspect versus, you know, being loud and broad. And I thought, well, I really want to study that since I know less about it. And that's what made me go to Chapman, is because I wanted the different side of it.
And, you know, especially coming from something like musical theater, and then to pick up on screen acting, you're right. I would imagine those are two very different disciplines. You know, you can easily gauge how well you're doing on stage because the audience is like another active participant in the event. How do you gauge that you're getting it right when you're on camera?
Oh, that's such a hard question. You know, there really is nothing like live performing. I love the audience. That was probably the hardest thing when I first went into it. You know, they would say, lower your voice or lower your eyebrows, talk like a human. And I'd be like, this is how I talk. I'm super animated and loud. And they'd be like, no, that's not how humans talk. But, you know, I'd be like, this is how I grew up. So that was probably the hardest thing was, you know, getting to be smaller and less theatrical. But I think, especially in the roles I like playing, I still like to give off that animation and theatricality within the screen because it's part of who I am, and I want to show that. But at the same time, you know, I obviously have lowered it a lot. But how do I gauge that? You know, they'll tell me. They'll say, bring it down to a 4 versus a 6 versus a 10. I'll just be like, you got it. And, you know, I just have to lower my voice or lower my voice or my eyebrows. That's usually the first two things that I take.
Well, I love it that you say that one of your early notes was talk like a human. How's that even a note? How do I do that? So obviously, if this Once Upon a Time in Hollywood opportunity came in your senior year, I mean, that's amazing that you're building a resume just fresh out of college. How did it come about for you?
Oh, so wild. My manager messaged me, and he was like, they're looking for a Mama Casss. You look like her. We got to get you on tape. So I recorded 2 of my songs. I don't even know if I had an official audition. I just put myself on tape singing 2 of her songs. I sang California Dreamin' and Monday Monday. I put on a big moo-moo. I did my hair up like her. And, you know, I gave it my all. And then we sent those self-tapes in, and I didn't hear for a month. I kind of forgot about it. It didn't really go through it. And then my manager called me a month later and was like, are you sitting down? You better sit down. I was like, I'm sitting down. This was like 8 o'clock at night. And he's like, you got the role. And I was like, what? I started freaking out. And it was just, because like I said, I had kind of forgotten about it. It never really developed. Like most auditions, you know, you go through callback 1, callback 2, callback 3, maybe some readings. But this was just, you know, the movie was already in development. It was already being filmed when this role came to fruition and started being cast. So yeah, I was not really expecting much from it, and then that happened, and it was wild.
Yeah, that is crazy. And how acquainted were you with Mama Casss prior to this opportunity?
I had heard some Mamas and the Papas music. I obviously loved California Dreamin' and, the classics. I wasn't as well versed as I am now. I mean, now I'm like their number one fan. So when it came for the self-tapes and doing that, I did what I could. I looked up her songs. Like I said, I knew the classics, but I looked up those songs. I watched a few of the like most famous videos so that I could get like her mannerisms down, and I did that just for the self-tape. And then once I got the role, I watched all the documentaries. I watched all the YouTube clips I could find. And then the best thing happened to me is that her daughter, Owen Elliott, actually reached out to me on Instagram and was like, I heard you were cast. Like, I would love to get coffee and give you any information you would like. I give you my blessing. And we became great friends, and now we're still in touch, and it's just the coolest, most honored. I'm so honored to, have this relationship with her daughter.
What kind of insights does she share that you think you couldn't find through, the archive materials and stuff? What kind of personal insights does she share with you that were useful?
She only remembers the little things, because her mom died when she was quite young. But, she just hearing from her about, the stories she could share with me from other family or from neighbors or from whatever, and just, showing me pictures and things like that. Just, hearing from a personal experience versus watching videos or watching, because watching something that everyone else can watch, that's cool and awesome, and I got all the information I needed from that because, for example, I want to emulate what I see. But getting such a personal touch and stuff, I feel like now I can bring that in as well, and it just kind of gave me the confidence and which is all I needed, honestly. It was just that little boost of wow, I have this personal connection now.
The feeling of responsibility, too, because you're playing
Absolutely.
a real person that meant a lot to the culture, and this is her daughter, that must have really deepened the investment, too.
Absolutely.
And I know how actors prepare. Really, really good actors, they throw in everything in the kitchen sink into their preparation. But at the same time, you are serving a particular narrative. In this case, Tarantino's narrative. What was the one thing you most wanted to convey about her essence?
That's a good question. I guess the joy, she had a lot of fun, and I'm primarily in a party scene in the movie, and, Quentin pulled me and Margot aside, and he said, just keep this in the back of your head, you're both, this isn't something we knew, either of our characters knew, but this is probably one of the last parties we are attending. And, I thought that was just a very careful note, because I was like, they were both, Sharon and Cass Elliot were both so full of life and, shared so much joy. And, even though they both led very difficult lives, they were both the life of the party. Yeah. And so I think that's really what I wanted to shine through, and not really show the heartache there, because I was partying.
Well, and obviously she had her challenges, but I think one of the things that was most infectious about her was that bold, big personality that came across as soon as she opened up her mouth and sang. It was beautiful to behold. I just a couple of months ago, I drove past her house where she used to live. Do you know what? I don't know if you know this, But do you know who bought the house not long after her death?
Who?
Dan Aykroyd. And he claimed that the house was haunted. And it was while he was living in that house that he wrote Ghostbusters. I thought that was interesting.
Oh,
I don't know.
That is
as a movie
very
geek.
Interesting.
Yeah. So you mentioned Margot Robbie and working alongside her. I mean, you're working with extraordinary people. So first of all, tell me about her, that whole experience, and what you observed of her work and her process.
Well, yeah, I primarily worked with Margot, and she's such a joy to work with. I mean, to see someone of her caliber and just everything about her is wonderful. But she's also so kind and, you know, takes the time to, you know, talk to each of her co-stars and, you know, which is just so sweet. And, you know, we definitely developed a friendship on set, which I think is so cool. What was really cool was watching her in the makeup trailer with her dialect coach, and she would be listening to Sharon Tate's old videos and be repeating after her, and her dialect coach would say a word and then she'd repeat the word, and just how invested she was in getting each word, not just each phrase, each word perfect, and how much dedication she has. But also how fun she is. I mean, like I said, we were mostly in this party scene together, and, you know, how we would dance it out together and just, like, you know, let loose. She wasn't a laser focused, like, oh, I can't talk to anyone before I'm working, you know? No, we were having fun. We were, you know, it was always this fun atmosphere that was almost like a party, even though it was work.
Watching from afar, the set design and how they've transformed the city of LA 50 years ago, it's been a real eye-opener just for the outsider. But what did it feel like to live in that world on that set? I mean, did that, and it must have felt like such a time warp for you as an actress.
Absolutely. I mean, obviously I wasn't alive in that time, but like seeing all of that was so cool, and that's like my favorite era, and like being there is like so cool because it really did feel like you were there, like it was that time. And every day, like, Quentin would dress to set, like he would dress like he was with us in that scene or whatever, so he felt like he was there with us as well. And like everyone just felt so present in that time period. It was so cool because whether you were at base camp or whether you were on set, you felt like you were there.
Tell me about Tarantino in terms of, because you've worked with a few directors now. What makes him unique in your eyes?
Wow. I mean, I've never seen someone with so much passion behind a camera. Like, he has so much love for this, not just this industry, but for obviously for everyone that's working with him. Like, he checks on every extra. He checks on every crew member. He checks on, and he's just always making sure everybody's happy, enjoying themselves, and that makes him happy. You see the joy in his face constantly. You see how much he's enjoying making this movie, and that's what's so amazing about his movies, is that he's loving them, and that's what makes them so amazing. You see the infectious energy on set. Like, you can't, before we take a shot, he goes, or before we like go for a shot, he goes, "Let me hear a woo! Let me hear a woo woo!" He just always amps up everyone. He's so much fun. He's so great to work with because he because he wants to be there, not just to get this movie out, but to get to work with you. He wants to work with everyone. And that is so cool. You know, I came on set being this, you know, nobody, whatever, and he was like, Rachel, I'm so happy you're here. Every time you're on camera, you just light up the screen. And I'm like, wow, thank you. Like, I don't even know what to say to that. Like, he does not have to compliment me. He doesn't have to say anything, and I'm honored, you know? And then he says that, and it's just like, thank you so much. When he gives out these compliments, he knows that he's creating this healthy environment where people not only have to work, but they like to work. And I think that makes for these amazing films.
Yeah. Is he very specific in his direction?
Sometimes. It honestly depends, you know. When we were first doing the scene, you know, we were dancing together. He was showing Margot the choreography, so he was dancing with me, and he was playing Sharon, and I got to dance with Quentin Tarantino, and it was so cool. But, you know, he's pretty, it depends on the scene. But sometimes he's just like, this is what it's going to look like, and he shows us in the camera beforehand with what they staged with the background. And we kind of see the picture of it, and we'll do our own thing. Or sometimes he'll be like, this is what I want. He has a very clear picture. It just depends on the scene. But no matter what, like, he has a vision. I think he just trusts what his actors are going to give him as well.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood isn't the only thing that you're featured prominently in. The Netflix show Atypical. You've been on for a few years now, and I'm wondering what you've been gaining from that experience of being a recurring character.
Yeah, I'm so lucky. That was my first ever film experience, and I got that sophomore year of college. It's been unbelievable. You know, I think the best part about it is the content of the show. It's just such a heartwarming, loving show, and the people on it are just the same as that. And I'm so lucky to be a part of that environment, because that's exactly the kind of experience I want to have. And I won't always get that, but I'm lucky that was at least my first experience. It's taught me so much, you know, the people on the show, the set, everything about it. You know, Netflix is such a great community, and Sony is wonderful as well.
With the actors I've spoken to in the past, whether they're new or kind of seasoned, there's a gypsy-like quality to their existence, because they go into an environment. It's a very intimate, concentrated period of time with a lot of people you feel intimate with for brief moments, and then they go off to do something else. And I'm wondering, when you have an experience like a Once Upon a Time in Hollywood or what have you, is it emotional to then walk out of that experience and get back to, okay, normal life?
That's so interesting. That's such an interesting question, because, like, with theater, with shows, I definitely have, like, post-show depression. Like, after I finish, like, a theatrical show, I'm like, oh, this show is over. What do I do with my life? But after a film or TV show, I don't know. With my typical cast, we're all very close, so we all still hang out and then wait till the next season and see each other again. With the movies and stuff, I don't know. I guess it doesn't ever feel like an ending, because you have, you know, I know you have the wrap parties and stuff, but when you're on set day by day and doing scenes instead of performing for an audience or whatever, it doesn't feel like it ever ends, because it's just take one, take two. You've never done the official perform it. So until you see it in theaters, when you see it in theaters or on TV, that's the performance. And then that can go on for forever. You know, you can watch them as many times as you want. You can show your kids, you can show your friends. So because it's able to be filmed and you're able to keep that memory forever, like, I guess I've never felt that, like, sadness, like it's gone, because, you know, you can hang out with those friends forever. But, you know, obviously you miss the set, you miss the director, you miss the makeup artist. Oh, I get so close with the makeup artist and the crew. But I've never really thought of it that way. Now I'm going to, and now I'm going to be depressed. Thanks a lot. Now I'm going to be sad after all my movies.
I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to be a downer about it. I think it's a beautiful thing, but it is interesting to be an actor, and that's your reality, kind of going from one reality to another, that's like true. Some kind of drifter. Yeah. You
know, I think once Atypical comes to a close and, like, that's a family, then that'll be really hard.
Yeah.
You know, but I think it's maybe easier with films because they're so quick. I don't know. That's an interesting question, and now I'm going to contemplate it for the rest of my life.